Well, good day, my friends. Today we are in Augusta, Kentucky. So Augusta, Kentucky, this little town on the Ohio River, is known for two famous people. One being Miss America, former Miss America Heather French, and the other being Rosemary Clooney. Rosemary Clooney grew up in a town called Maysville, just down the road, but when she, was in her older years, she made her home at a home right here on the river. They have turned it into a museum, and actually Heather French is part of that. So they've turned the house into a museum that we're going to see today dedicated to Rosemary, and they actually boast that they have the biggest white Christmas collection in the world. So this should be fun. Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all. It begins right now. So Rosemary's house, when I said it was on this little town by the water, I literally mean her house was right on the water. It's a beautiful white house. She had such a crazy life, from her days in Maysville, where her parents were hardly ever together, to then one day her dad just disappearing on VJ Day. He just never came home. Then eventually she gets a singing gig in Cincinnati, and then finds her way to Hollywood, stars in White Christmas, then sings at the Democratic National Convention where Bobby Kennedy was shot. And she said when she heard "Oh No, Not Again," she just had a breakdown. This is her house. This is the house that is now a museum. We are invited to tour it today alone. That was very nice of them. And look at that view she had. Now, like I mentioned, Heather French was Miss America, and she is definitely part of this. Right there, Rosemary Clooney house, Steve and Heather French, proprietors. She actually would have been here today with us, but it's opening day for the Cincinnati Reds, and so she's in the parade, so she couldn't be a part of this with us today, but we are gonna take the tour now. I am excited to see what her house was like.
I always say, come on to my house, okay? As Rosie would say. And then I have you go in the dining room, and this is where we start. Okay. Now Rosemary came here because her brother Nick was here. And they were all born about 20 miles from here in Maysville. And Rosemary was born in 1928. Her sister Betty was 3 years younger, and Nick was 3 years younger than Betty. So Nick is 91, and he and Nina are still here with us. When Rosie was 12, the family moved to Cincinnati. So most of her growing-up time was spent in Cincinnati. Now, she came here because she wanted to retire where she could sit in that chair and watch the river. She loved watching the river. When Rosie and I were young, the river was much lower back then before they built all the high-level dams. And there was a big sandy beach down there where we all played.
No kidding.
And we used to swim in the river because it wasn't polluted. We didn't have diesel boats back in the old ages, So she wanted to come here and be home. And she wanted to be close to Nick because Betty had passed away, and they were the last two left. Now, when they got to Cincinnati when she was a girl, her mother and father divorced. And Mom took Nick and moved away. Left Betty and Rosemary with their dad, and he kind of left them on their own because he liked to play the ponies quite a bit and run around. They were cashing in glass pop bottles for 2 cents a piece to buy their food. So Betty, their dream in life was to be girl singers with a band. This is before television. So Betty, at the age of 13, drug Rosemary down to the big radio station in Cincinnati, WLW, and auditioned for them to sing. Well, lo and behold, they got hired that same day to sing on WLW.
That's a legendary station too. I mean, Andy
Yes,
Williams,
it is a very big
Doris
station.
Day.
Doris Day, Roy Rogers, Andy Williams, Red Skelton. It is a very large station because during World War II they gave it extra wattage so it could be heard. A station could be broadcast on this whole hemisphere. Okay,
Wow.
So it still has that power. But anyway, they sang on WLW for $20 a piece a week, and that was big money back then. They sang there for about a year, and then one of the big bands came through town, and he said, well, I really like your sound, and I'd like for you to go with me as my girl singers, but because you're so young, you'd have to have a guardian. So about that time, Uncle George Guilfoyle, right up here, came home from World War II, and he said, well, I don't have a job. I'll go with you, and I'll be your guardian and your agent. So the three of them took off a month before Rosie was going to graduate from Western Hills High School in Cincinnati. So she didn't ever graduate. But it didn't seem to matter. It didn't bother her career any. They traveled the country with Tony Pastor's band for about 3 years, doing one-nighters all over the country. And that's how she was discovered by Mitch Miller. He signed her to record Come On to My House, but she didn't like. And he said, well, sing it or you can go back to Cincinnati. And she decided it might be the better part of valor to sing that song.
Yeah.
So it became a big hit.
Yeah, that's a classic.
She went on to make 23 hit records before she was 23 years old. Betty came back to Cincinnati and became a local celebrity because we had television by then. And she was on several of the local shows and that are very well known. And later she married a band leader and moved to Las Vegas. She had a small career of her own, but she never made the big time quite like Rosemary did. Betty passed away at the age of 61 from a brain aneurysm, and it just about killed Nick and Rosemary because they were so close. Nick and Nina had come here when Nick got his job in Cincinnati. When he left the girls, he went into the service and became a broadcaster. He started out as my nighttime DJ in Lexington when I was in college. He was Nick at Night.
Oh, cool.
And so that's the only, I didn't connect him at all. And then when he got the job in Cincinnati, he came up and tried to buy the house next door to us on the riverfront here.
No kidding.
Yeah. And something happened with the job, and he didn't get that house. So when he got hired by Channel 12, which is the CBS feed, he bought a big Victorian house up on 4th Street, and they still live there today. And when he came to town, he brought his children. And they were like 12 and 13. And that's how come we have George. Now, this is George Clooney's home. He has several abodes, but I think he really considers his home. He still comes here. He has his own house here. He brings them all, the kids. And when he's home, he's just George. Hangs out over at the pub with the kids that he went to high school with, shoots hoops at the gym. And the only thing, we don't take pictures of the twins because he keeps them pretty much out of the limelight.
Yeah,
He'll
that's very
walk around
fair.
town with them, and Grandma will. And Amal is a lovely person. She's been through the museum. And they have a real nice house. It's just a little simple house, but they put up a privacy fence so the kids can play in the backyard. So now his sister still lives here in town.
Apparently he loans you some stuff for the museum too. That's amazing.
Yes.
So nice of him.
A few things of George's in the museum that he gave us. And we have Oh Brother and Monuments Man and the American. We usually have the Leatherhead's costume here, but it's in Louisville right now. These are his original costumes, and I still got the Hollywood tags on them.
Didn't you tell me he requested to only have a few out because he didn't want to be the center of attention?
He said, don't put any more than 3 things out because my junk shouldn't take up Aunt Rosemary's space. So he gets a wall over there. George was a deckhand on a ferry boat. Once in a while, he'd set tobacco for my neighbor, and he says, this costume looks just like I wore it.
Wait, is that what that photo is on the wall of him on the ferry boat up there?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
that's him playing basketball. He's a very good athlete. Yeah, that picture actually was in Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
Yeah. George is a very nice person. He's a very, very nice guy and a very friendly person. None of the Clooneys are just ordinary people. They're very sweet.
I think it goes with this area, the Ohio, Kentucky area. Everybody's always been
just
friendly.
Kentucky people, and I never say when George is here and when he isn't, because I'm always wrong. He comes and goes whenever he can.
That's so cool to see, though, because Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is one of my all-time favorite movies. So just kind of wondering where all these costumes went, and that you guys have some of them here.
We have more in storage.
And it's cool because people that may love Rosemary that want to come, their kids can get into both from here. So I love that.
Well, you just wouldn't believe the number of young children that are so enamored of White Christmas. I have them come in the sisters' costumes.
Oh, I bet.
I do. I even have men roll up their pant legs and perform the sisters' number because they've done it in a talent show.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We have a good time here. No matter what else, we're going to have a good time one way or another. This was Rosie's dining room, but she didn't eat here. She sent over to the general store for lunch, and they ate at the Beehive or Caproni's usually at supper time. Now, this is Rosie when she lived here. She was heavy. But she sure didn't start out that way, which we'll see when we go to the back and see her.
Yeah, didn't she have...
She had 5 children in 5 years.
Well, didn't she have like a kind of a throat cancer or...
She ended up with lung cancer.
Okay.
When she moved to this house, she had COPD, and she had a replaced knee. So she wasn't real mobile. She had a bathroom put in downstairs, so she only had to go upstairs once a day. Now, this is the man she married while she lived here. This is Dante De Piolo. Her first husband, Jose Ferrar, had passed away. And she had met him before she knew Jose. And they started dating again in their 50s. And when she moved here, they had a big wedding in St. Patrick's in Maysville. And we had all kinds of people come for it. We have all kinds of people that came for everything. Now, this girl right here is Debbie Boone, Pat Boone's daughter, Debbie. And she was Rosie's daughter-in-law. She married Rosemary's middle son, Gabriel. This girl right here is Heather French Henry, and she is the one that owns the house. Now, Heather was Miss America in 2000, and she's from Augusta. And she and Rosemary were extremely good friends. Rosemary helped Heather out a lot with her performances and different things. And of course, in the town of Augusta, with however many people we've got, everybody knows everybody. So,
didn't you tell me like a funny story about Rosemary's wedding? Somebody was late to the wedding.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm going to tell you about Bob when we go to Hollywood.
Okay.
These are Rosemary's 5 kids with Jose Ferrar. When she got there in 1953 and started making movies, she married Jose Ferrar and had 5 children with him, all after White Christmas. White Christmas was her last movie, and they all look like their daddy.
Yeah, they do.
Now, this one turned out to be an actor on television, and he was on NCIS Los Angeles.
Yeah, Miguel.
That is Miguel. And then Maria married the adult pineapple fortune. Gabriel married Pat Boone's daughter, Debbie. And Monsita married somebody with a cable network, and they do produce VeggieTales now.
Oh, wow.
And Raphael married, well, he was married, but he wrote his wife's name down, and I gave it to Steve, and somehow Steve misplaced that. But they come a lot in the summertime. Monsita looks like this picture of her mother, early picture of her mother. She really looks like her mother. And when I told her that I thought she did, she said everybody tells me that, but she even has kind of like the same hairstyle and everything. And last time they were here, we had Rosie's Corvette out in the front yard.
Oh, wow.
And they came, and she was ecstatic. She said, we had so much fun in this.
How often does that happen? Is that a...
We get, in the summertime, if there's a festival going on, and Steve is able to put it out in the front yard if he's here, that gate opens and we sit it right there. It's a
Oh,
baby blue
nice.
T-top which says Rosemary.
I'll have to come back and see that.
Yeah, we get that out when we can. And the plan is to tear off the deck out back and put something out there where we can keep it on the property.
That would be great. That would be.
Because that's actually, we have to store it in one of the garages behind the row houses there. But yeah, it still runs. Now, I told you about all the kids, and this is Rosie's own mink coat. Now, when she was a big star, mink was in. Of course, mink's not in now, so we just put it in the museum. That blouse is from her first movie. And this is a picture of Rosemary that somebody was in high school with her in Cincinnati in Western Hills High School. And that's Rosie with the singing in the choir there with the little arrow by her. And I want you to remember this wrought iron because I'm going to tell you about it when we go to Hollywood.
Oh, right back here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we call this the Augusta Room. Now, this is brother, the American Leatherheads. Now, George actually used his father, Nick, in telling the story in the end of Monuments Men. And that's a picture of Nick right there. And Nick and Nina still are very active, and we love them to death. This is the kids when they moved here. And that's George's mother. And now we're going to Hollywood. And these costumes are old and they look well used. They are. They're 71 years old this year. We're doing everything we can to preserve them. Okay. And these are the actual costumes that were worn when the movies were made.
Wow.
We have collected them from many, many places, and we are still collecting. We never quit. That dark blue suit was Rosemary's in The Stars Are Singing. Those two like tan outfits were her 16-year-old co-star, Anna Maria Alberghetti. Now, she was from an Italian operatic family, and she didn't stick around Hollywood. Only old people like us will know her. And you're not old enough, so I remember her. She brought that movie back and had the world premiere in Maysville, the old Russell Theater. So George had to do one like that.
Is that what I saw a photo in there of her riding in the back of a car for a parade? Is that because I had heard
she came home to do the movie? Yes, that was a big deal. You know, little town girl does great, and they had the big parade and all that kind of stuff. So George brought Leatherheads back, and had the world premiere here. So we all got to do that, and it was major. This movie is her second movie in Red Garters, and this is where she met the man she later married. When she first got to Hollywood and was cast in this movie, she had to be a dance hall girl in an old Western cowboy saloon. She had to get out of that big heavy-duty tablecloth-looking dress down to that Red Garters outfit down there where she has the garter on her neck. Doing a dance on the old saloon bar stage. And she said, well, you hired the wrong person. I sing, I don't dance. So they brought Dante De Piolo in to be her dance instructor. They went for each other right away and dated for some time. Then Dante went away to be a dancer in the movie Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. When he came back, she hooked up with Jose Ferrer. So they didn't see each other romantically until after Jose passed away. Bumped into each other in Hollywood and started dating. And when she moved here, they had a big Hollywood wedding, and that's what you asked me about that. Yes, Bob and Dolores Hope came for the wedding. So they were very good friends. Well, Bob was late getting into CBG in Cincinnati, so he was late getting the wedding. Walked down the middle of the aisle singing Get Me to the Church on Time, waving a San Diego Padres ball cap. Everybody jumped up to take pictures, and
of course,
Rosemary standing at the altar. But anyway, no, it didn't bother her. And we had the reception down here, and he sat and entertained my 95-year-old father all night. Was so good to my dad.
That's so
he
cool.
Was one of the nicest people you ever want to meet.
That is so cool.
But he's very small. He was a lot smaller than we expected. Yeah. Now, these other costumes are a late acquisition we got last fall, and Heather hasn't had time to stage this. I was talking to Steve last night, and this is going to change.
Okay.
When they get some time to come and
So that's nice to know that when people come, it won't always be a lot of times the same
things,
displays. You loan out stuff.
Around, and I'm losing my vision, and I told Steve, you better leave things where they are, because when I have to come down here and point to something, I don't want people to think
That's great that you're able to acquire so many of these old costumes, because so many of them just, they didn't last. Weren't preserved, and they
you
just...
You can tell these are really old. These are really showing their age. I don't know. They've probably been in a warehouse somewhere. We actually have somebody in Hollywood looking all the time.
Oh, good.
Stuff. And they stay on all the Christie's auction and online auctions for all this. We bought a pair of tap shoes of Vera Ellen's not too long ago off an auction, and we have a suit of Danny Kaye's that's coming, but it is not from White Christmas. We can't find anything of his from White Christmas. But we have one of his TV suits coming. Now, these seats came out of the old Russell Theater in Maysville. When she came back to town, they were going to tear it down, and she said, oh, no, you're not. So she started Rescue the Russell. Brought in big name entertainers and sold corporate tables for dinner, and it was a big deal. And they raised enough money that the Russell is totally rehabbed now, and they use it for special events.
That's neat. I saw an interview with Rosemary where she said when she came back for that, she said she was so popular they had to bring her in the back of a car covered up with a blanket. She went to her grandma's house, and she said her grandma came out and said, oh, what a poor baby. Look at you with all this attention.
That sounds like Rosemary. She was a car. I'm going to tell you, on the tape upstairs, you should hear the one where she got to meet the Pope. Oh, my land. She said, I walked up. I was so nervous meeting the Pope. And she said, I walked up, and the first thing when he grabbed my hand, I said, God bless you. And he said, oh, no, I'm supposed to say that to you. And she said, I was about mortified.
That's amazing.
Now, this is her third movie. She made this with Bob Hope, and those costumes in the back are Bob's. They're a little shoddy. This movie is playing out there, and we would eventually like to have it playing on this TV if we ever get around to doing that.
That's kind of like a mariachi.
Yeah, well,
gold
he
lame.
has epaulets on the shoulder, and he has a big gold hat with dangles hanging down for it. This is from the movie Here Come the Girls. That coat's Bob's, and that dress is the size Rosemary was when she was 23.
Oh, wow.
She had an 18-inch waist. Now, this is where the rod out in the other room comes from. This was her Hollywood mansion, and it belonged to George and Ira Gershwin. This is where George Gershwin was on with this music. After he passed away, Ira sold the mansion, and the Ferrars lived there all of their married life, and she still owned it, but she lived here. But she didn't go there much, and she kind of let it run down. So when she passed away, her kids auctioned it off. And Steve told me Madonna bid $7 million for it.
Wow.
It was outbid by a guy from Iran who bid $8 million, and he just wanted the property. It was a very prestigious place in Beverly Hills, 1019 Hawkesbury Drive.
Yeah, think of all the songs that were written there and the family memories.
Well,
Jeez.
after it was torn down, Hollywood went spastic, and that's what that article there was about. But it was gone. But Steve, that owns the house, had gone to medical school, this guy's son. And he was out there at a medical convention when they were tearing the building down. So the guy said, hey, you can have anything you want. It's going to the dump. So Steve rented a truck and brought back all the wrought iron.
That's great.
All the Spanish tiles. That's what's out. That part of that gate mechanism is out behind that big.
Yeah. I'm so glad you kept it.
Mm-hmm. Her son came in one day, the younger one, and he was leaning up against it out there, and he said, boy, this looks familiar. And I said, well, yeah, it came from your house. Oh. So anyway, we would like to tear that off so we can have something out back. There's a deck on the other side.
Oh, okay.
The house doesn't go any further. Okay. At one time, it had a wooden structure back there when a family lived here, but over the years, the floods and before Rosemary came, it was all torn off and a big deck put back there for her.
I was wondering about that when I was walking around. I was like, oh, there's a deck back here. I wonder what the plan is.
There. This place has been everything from a hotel, boarding house, to a family place, and now a museum. So you're welcome to come back and look at all these. Bob Hope was one of her dearest friends.
Yeah.
And she did go on USO tours with Bob.
And this was this the powder room? So she didn't have to go upstairs,
This actually, without all these cases, is the only cozy room in the house. Now, the house was built in 1838, and all these walls are solid plaster, and all this is pressed leather. Now, Rosemary actually had this put in down here under the steps, a bathroom put in, because it was hard for her to go down the steps.
Yeah.
So that's not original to the house.
So she would only go up and down the steps just to go to bed?
Yes,
okay.
Primarily. Yeah. And this is a good friend of hers. This is Rosemary from the old Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
Now, she and Rosemary and Martha Ray and Margaret Whiting, sometimes K-Star, had an act together, Four Girls Four. And Rosemary and Rosemary were pretty close friends, and she would come here to visit. And so when she passed away, her family wanted something of hers in the museum, so they sent us this little gourmet apron.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that's come since I've been here. So this is the last picture we have of Rosemary here, and that's how I remember her, exactly like I remember her. She's
right
standing
here.
Right here by the newel post.
Wow.
Yeah, she would like walk down and visit with people, that little great platform out there.
I was going to ask, did she entertain fans? Did people come out here? They knew that she lived here or no? Or was she just left alone?
She was pretty much left on her own. She was very much a part of the town, but nobody came, nobody bothered her, nobody, I don't think people even, it was never publicly made that she was here. Okay. Nick was very well known, because he was the nightly news anchor.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati. George, at that point, was known as Nick's son.
Oh, okay.
So he was known in the area. And
But he probably hadn't been on Roseanne or anything even yet.
No.
That's where I first saw him. I was a fan then.
He left here, he graduated from high school here, and went to NKU, in Northern Kentucky University. And while he was selling shoes at the old McAlpin's department store in Crestview Mall. And he came home one night and told Nick and Nina he didn't think shoes was his future. So he drove his old Chevrolet out to Rosemary's house, and she said he could stay with her.
Oh.
And, car blew up in her driveway. I had somebody in here Saturday that had run around with George when he was still working at the shoe store. It was funny. I'm sorry, you missed it. I hear all kinds of things.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
I do. I really enjoy being here. It's just like that house back there, the Gershwin house. After George Gershwin died, and Ira died, their nephew donated George Gershwin's piano and all of his original sheet music to the University of Michigan.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And they built a special addition to the music department, and senior music students can go in and check out his music.
That's
and
great.
Play on his piano.
That's
and
great.
The reason I know that is because the guy from the architect that designed the wing was here one day and told me.
Nice.
So I never know what I'm going to hear.
Yeah.
I really don't. So this is, you're going to Pine Tree, Vermont. After we leave Hollywood, we go to Vermont. Now these are George's. We had all of his high school trophies down here, but he has his own Augusta room now, and he wanted them back. So the only thing he left was his broken tennis rackets and his little kid's golf case.
It's kind of funny.
So, yeah, he is a good guy. Red dress is original from White Christmas. Okay. Now, these are the original sisters' dresses.
Wow.
This one, Heather tells me that it was owned by a collector, and he had it in his front window where the sunlight hit it all the time.
Oh, yeah, you can tell.
See the fading. This is Vera Ellen's, came from the studio. She had to do a little repair work at the top, and but other than that, it's pretty pristine. You can even see a difference in the netting from the being in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Now, Heather's mother made the red dresses because Heather wore one and Rosemary's niece wore one when they were in the White Christmas Parade one year. And she actually performed some numbers in that.
That's incredible.
It's the only one of the 4 original fans.
Wow.
From what I understand, one was broken over Bane's head. And the studio just lost 2. They think somebody took them home for souvenirs. The cake from the party at the end of the show. Now, there are 2 of them. In case they're plaster, one got broken, they had to have one to bring in.
Yeah.
These chairs came out of the Vermont Inn scene. We have 6 of them, I believe, in one of the tables.
Oh, wow.
But we can't put everything in here. It's just a storeroom.
Yeah.
This case has the dresses from the cast party. This green one is the one that Rosemary had on when she wouldn't dance with Bing. This is the white one that Vera Ellen has on when she's getting engaged to Danny. Okay. That's the housekeeper's dress that answered the phone and caused all the problems. That robe in the back is the red robe Rosie has on when she's saying Count Your Blessings. It's actually probably in the worst condition of anything we've gotten. You can still see the piping around the collar and down the front and on the pockets and that. Now, I'm really sorry to tell you that I can't show it to you, but we have a dress from Holiday Inn.
Oh.
And it's a short dress. It's the 4th of July dress, about this big. Has a red velvet top and a black and white striped skirt. But the reason that we bought it is because it appears in White Christmas, and Heather tells me 10 scenes. Nobody wears it. It's hidden in the background. Hollywood calls this an Easter egg.
Yeah.
So you got to find it. After the cast gets to Vermont, you will see there's 5 or 6 of them. You'll see them hanging in the background behind the dancers and the actors, or they'll be on a rack going past them. One place where I can guarantee you'll see them is right at the end of the movie where Bing is getting that horse out of his Santa bag and walking around the back. There's 2 or 3 of them hanging up in the right-hand corner.
Wow.
But once you see those black and white stripes, you can't forget them.
Yeah.
You'll pick them out and scenes all over. Now, the other thing we have here is the jacket of Robert Altman, who was the director, choreographer, I'm sorry. And he is the reason that the scene with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye is even in the movie, because that wasn't scripted. They were goofing off one day, entertaining the cast and crew, got themselves gussied up while they were waiting to film. He walked in and watched it and said, okay, that's going in the movie.
Yeah.
You can tell when they do it, it's not scripted. They're just goofing off, okay? Now, this is Vera Ellen's Mandy costume, and it's 71 years old, so all these metal beads have kind of discolored the entire outfit. But you notice all of her necklines are high.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let her neck be photographed.
Why is that? Was there...
She was anorexic.
Oh, okay.
And she had, like, turkey wobbles over
Right.
her, and she didn't want that filmed. This is the principal dancer, and he has a different color jacket. We actually have several of the dark green jackets, which are the background dancers. We have several more of these costumes, which are the girl dancers. And this belonged to George Chakiris, and this is from the scene where she's doing Love You Done Me Wrong in the black dress.
Yeah.
Those are her rhinestone gloves. Now, she hated those gloves. All those rhinestones would stick together and stick into her fingers. And if you notice in the scene where she has them on, the hands are always spread out like this.
Yeah.
Or like this, because she couldn't take a chance on the rhinestones getting stuck.
Yeah, getting linked up.
There. Now, George Chakiris and Vera Ellen were both born and raised in Norwood. It's a little community in Cincinnati. He's been here a couple of times. When she laid those rhinestone gloves on his shoulder, gave him the part in West Side Story. He was the head of the Puerto Rican gang, which he won an Oscar for. He was my teenage heartthrob. I thought it was beautiful. I went to see that movie all the time. These costumes, this is Bing Crosby's, and that's the General's. Now, these are being repurposed for something else, and Heather told me she had to watch those scenes umpteen times to get the paraphernalia where it was supposed to be. Yeah, I've had people from the service tell me they're not right. Exactly. I had one guy said my job was to put those ribbons together, and he said they're not exactly right. I said, well, it's the movies.
Yeah.
That's coat she had on when she's mad at Bing, and she's going back on the train. Vera Ellen's little hat that she has on when she first gets to the inn with that gold coat. We're still looking for the gold coat. Those are the shoes I told you we haven't had very long.
Yeah.
We got those off of an auction when somebody in Hollywood was dispersing everything. How she danced in those high heel shoes with no straps on.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't notice that, but yeah.
You know, I find that amazing.
Jeez.
I don't know. She was the youngest Rockefeller Rockette ever. And I had a cousin that was a Rockette. And she got there right after Vera Ellen left. But most of the girls that she danced with had danced with Vera Ellen. And she said that most of the girls in the movie had been former Rockettes.
Oh, interesting.
And, she brought one of them that had been in the movie up here one day.
Oh, neat.
Oh, the town went bonkers. Gave her the seat of the city key. And
I bet.
Because she had actually been in White Christmas. Now, you can set this, they're just doing whatever. There's no script for this.
And there's the fans.
Mm-hmm. I have actually had men come in here and do that because they've done it at the talent show. This is Rosie's piano. She had this on a cottage in the back lot of the studio. And this is the piano she and Bing worked up all their numbers on because neither of them had music. They did everything by ear. It has gotten pretty much done in here because of the dampness from the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we found out, my sister had one down the street here. We found out you have to have a heater on the soundboard in the back.
Oh, okay.
Piano down here because everything will rust.
Yeah, I've never owned a piano. I wouldn't even thought of that. Yeah, that makes sense.
It will rust. But she wanted her piano. Now this was her living room, and she had a big easy chair here, and Dante had one over there. You know, without these cases, this would have been totally different.
Yeah. Probably would have kept the window or the drapes open so they could look out the window.
Keep the daylight out here.
Did she have a boat or anything? Being that, okay.
No, she did not. She actually was heavy when she lived here, and she couldn't walk really well because she did have a replaced knee. And she has COPD. And her oxygen tanks are actually still up in the bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Now, we're going upstairs, and you'll see her bedroom just like she walked out of it.
Okay.
She entertained until December the 15th, I think, of 2001. When you go up there, I'm going to start a movie on the TV that is at the governor's mansion in Kentucky, because Steve, that owns the house, was lieutenant governor at the time. And it's one of her last public appearances.
Did she pass here in town,
No,
or was she touring, or?
She didn't. She was diagnosed at the end of the month of December in 2001 with lung cancer. She went to Mayo Clinic in February of 2002 to have surgery, and then she went out to stay with the girls in California where it's warm, because it's definitely not warm here.
Yeah.
And she passed away out there.
Okay.
The cancer had spread too much. But they brought her back here, and she had her funeral at St. Patrick's in Maysville, and she's buried in Maysville in St. Patrick's Cemetery.
Yeah, I've taken the viewers here to some of her old stomping grounds, and we went to her grave as well.
I had to find it because people actually still send flowers on her birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. She has a huge fan club.
That's great.
And there's a whole crew that I see on Facebook a lot that, you know, they'll post all kinds of stuff about Rosemary, and they'll do her songs and everything.
Yeah.
She has a following from all over the world.
That's amazing.
I have had people here from Australia, New Zealand, Spain.
And she's been gone 24
Brazil.
years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Well, back in her day, there weren't that many girl singers, and
That's true.
she traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
She was known all over. I have people that fly in here from California, from Washington State. This is on their bucket list.
Mm.
They've got to see this. So she was just loved.
Yeah.
Really loved. And she is a real entertainer. You know, like on this tape, when I watch this tape upstairs, she stops and tells little anecdotes, like I told you the one about Pope and things. And she gives credit to everybody else.
Aw.
You know, she just really is folksy.
Yeah.
And she bonds with people. I've had people that have come here from the airport and CVG, and when her plane was delayed one day, he said she was the nicest person. He said any other star would have flown a conniption fit.
Yeah, yeah.
She said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It'll fly tomorrow."
Oh,
so,
wow.
You know, she just
That's great.
charmed everybody. Now I'm going upstairs. You can look as long as you want. You can stay as long as you want.
Okay.
You can ask me anything. I might know and I might not. So it was one from her Four Girls Four.
Right up here in this top little thing we're gonna see.
Up here. She got in with Michael Feinstein toward the end of her career and switched over more to jazz genre than pop music. And it gave her a lot more room to breathe. You know, she was having trouble getting her breath and everything.
Yeah.
And jazz has a lot of stops in it. So these are the girls she was with. And sometimes they would change, because I know that's K-Star.
Yeah.
And yeah, she enjoyed herself with
Gucci shoes.
Yeah, and I said that's as close as I'll ever get to Gucci.
That's neat.
Yeah, has a lot of Heather's Miss America stuff in it, and some of Steve's lieutenant governors, and they met everybody. She got to meet everybody.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to interview Heather.
Crowns. There's 2 of them down there. I think she told me she had 7.
Wow, her actual
For
crowns.
every occasion.
It looks like she's wearing, in that photo, the bottom one here. That's neat. She said that was one of her early pageant. There's Heather. Yeah, I'm hoping to get to interview Heather about what it was like being Miss America. See what happens. Her on all these magazines. Wow. Oh, that's Dante's shirt.
Now this is Nick.
And that's George's ER stuff. His ER scrubs. That's cool. Wow.
That's George's dad. That's Nick.
Okay. And this was Rosemary's room?
This is Rosemary's bedroom. Yeah. Everything's done in roses. And we've got some repair work to do.
I like the wallpaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the
Now,
story with that picture on the...
This is one of her first studio pictures.
Oh.
She brought that home to Grandma Guilfoyle.
I saw this photo, and that's what I was
That is
wondering.
Grandma Guilfoyle. Now, the kids were farmed out to Grandma Clooney or Grandma Guilfoyle all the time when they were young, because Mom and Dad were always split up. They were always fighting and then back together again. But when she would come back, she would come out. Grandma Guilfoyle was home. Okay. Now this typewriter on the bed is the typewriter that her autobiography was typed on.
Wow.
The daughter of the girl that typed the book brought that to me and said her mother passed away, but she would like for it to be in the museum.
That's wonderful.
These drumsticks. A lady drove down from New York and said, my husband was Rosemary's drummer, and he passed away, and he wanted to know, would you keep something of him?
Oh, nice. Was this was her bed and everything,
This is her
right?
bed, yeah.
Wow.
Now, this is the view that she had. And when she was bad toward the end, they had that chase lounge over here, and she could watch this all the time. It's a pretty nice view.
Sure is.
In the summertime when the sun is shining, it's even nicer. Now, let me tell you about some of this stuff.
Well, I was going to ask you, what are the shoes back here in the... I just happened to notice that.
That's as close as I'm ever coming to Manolo's.
I was going to say, I just happened to glance over and I'm like, there's a pair of shoes and like a globe. That's not something you see every day.
I don't know if this lamp is still working. And I don't think
Purple shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And her TV. That's kind of... I was friends with
television.
I was friends with Shelley Winters for the last 2 years of her life. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny to see, you know, like them having just such a small TV. She was the same way. You'd think somebody that...
TVs weren't big back
Yeah, and if I brought her a movie to watch, she'd go, you're going to get in trouble for stealing that. I said, no, you can buy them in the stores now. Wow.
Yeah, she passed
her tea
away
set?
In 2002, before we had all this stuff. You know, she did some TV commercials. And we have some things of her, that's one of them right there, of her TV commercials.
Mother's Helper?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And this is about the wedding, and I just told you that...
oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bob came. And these are Nick's books. That's Bing Crosby, and he dedicated that to Rosie.
It's nice to work with young people because they'll tell you what you're doing in the room.
Now, after Rosemary passed away, or after Betty passed away, I'm sorry, at 61 from a brain aneurysm, Rosemary and Nick wanted to honor her, and she had always had these dreams of exotic places. So they took a trip on the Orient Express for her.
Oh, nice.
Went to Raffles and stayed in... went to Singapore and stayed in Raffles.
Nice.
Because that was things that went through Betty's.
Yeah. You always plan on doing it later, and then nobody's promised later.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
her TV.
Yeah.
Or I mean, her telephone.
Yep. And
Jose's shoes.
some of, I think those are Jose's shoes, tap shoes. Yeah. And Dante was good friends with Fred Astaire because he was a dancer in all the...
That makes sense, yeah.
Now, these are his. This is Dante's things. This is George's ER scrubs.
Pretty nice. That's pretty cool that you have all this stuff.
That dress was worn by his senior prom date.
Oh, George's?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she went with him because he was having trouble trying to talk the girls into it because George is a pretty big practical joke.
Oh, that makes sense. They didn't want their prom to be a practical joke, so.
Now this settee is here with these holes in it because Rosemary burned hers with her cigarette.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and so we kept it.
Can I ask you, do you happen to know why Dante was not buried with her?
Dante still had a lot of connections in Hollywood, and he lived to 2013.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure, but he didn't stay here in the house after she passed away.
Okay.
He went back and forth, from my understanding. When he was here, he would stay with Nick and Nina.
Oh, okay.
He was very close with George, I think, and Nick and Nina. But... yeah, he didn't stay here anymore. The girls, Rosemary's girls, called Heather and asked her and Steve if she'd be interested in the house.
I'm so glad they did.
Yeah, and her mom and dad were still here. Us gave them a place. They would stay up here.
Oh, nice.
When they came to town. And then she has a degree in costuming, dress design type stuff from UC.
Wow.
University of Cincinnati. And yeah, she had this in mind, and they've been collecting for 20-some years.
Thank God. I mean, this is because once it's gone, it's gone. You know, once it's not the same as when she left it, it's not the same. So.
Well, she left a better bedroom and said, I'll be back as soon as I recover, but the cancer came.
What an honor to be in her home. So we'll walk back down. Right down here to where she took her last photo. That was one heck of a tour. She said that Rosemary used to have her lunch always over here at the general store. I figured I would show that. This, back when she was live, you could have came here and possibly found her out here. Well, that was about as amazing as it could have been. I think that was a wonderful trip, and we will come back and see it again because they have a lot more to show, and as things get loaned out and they make room for other things, they'll have more that they can display, and we'll check it out. Thank you all for watching from Rosemary Clooney's house in Augusta, Kentucky. Have a great night, and goodbye.